principals, the board of trustees, to custodians, and to everyone that will listen, the Chamber of Commerce. As a matter of fact, make sure that all district staff received information and also provided feedback and input, not only the focus groups that we've been working with, but also all staff and parents. Therefore, we did send out the survey, and Mr. Garcia does have some preliminary results of the surveys. And basically, the survey was made of the components of the allowable costs. And to what degree do our stakeholders of staff and parents believe that we should be spending the funds? And Mr. Joel Garcia will be able to present that information. And while he does that, because we have a great number of custodians, we were able to present to half one vertical team last Thursday. And today, I had the pleasure to, I say present, but it was really, what I value the most is that Q&A. That, and as a matter of fact, I was late to my next appointment, but we spent a great number of minutes, and it was well worth it. They were able to share all the great things that they're seeing in our district. They were also able to share their impressions, their suggestions, and they are just so eager to continue to work on behalf of our children and our staff. And, it was the end of the day, and yet they were so enthusiastic and so happy that we were there to listen to them. And they're just so humble, but they're so proud of the work that they do. And I promise them that we will continuously meet with them, hopefully quarterly, because that's been our goal. Of course, the pandemic came, and so we weren't able to do that. And another thing, one of the major questions that they're also asking is, regarding the masks, because, they do a lot of sanitation. And we told them, we will continue to provide that. As a school district, we strongly support the utilization of face masks. We'll provide everything and anything that they need in terms of PPE to protect themselves. But also, we're going to continue to look at the commissioner's recommendation and work with legal counsel, because when he did provide some information last Thursday that when it comes to employees, we may be able to explore actually the usage of continuously. So that's something that we're going to continue to explore. So time flew. Mr. Garcia was there, Ms. Well Garcia taking notes, Ms. Garcia, and but they were so active. And we're going to continue to provide those forums for our staff. Other things that this year we wanted to do, which we were not able to do as much, is campus house visits, because every time we have a principal sessions, we observe classrooms, and we're looking at academics, but at the same time we're also looking at safety items in classrooms, in hallways. But what we intended to do this year, go do some facility walkthroughs that we didn't have an opportunity to do as much. And that's something that we are going to be doing, beginning this summer. And we are going to be involving, our campus administration and our custodians, because they're the ones that see things firsthand. And we want to make sure that we continue to maintain our facilities. Ready?
Before we start, Ms. Veronica Mendoza has joined us. So we have a slate seven.
Okay. So what Mr. Garcia is going to be showing us is data from the parent and staff survey on the utilization of funds. as provided through ESSER funds and guidance from the federal government.
Good evening, Board President Rogers, Board of Trustees, Dr. Perez. I'm going to present some data from the ESSER survey. I'm going to just go through each of the slides. Each slide has each of the 11 questions that were on the survey. So I'm going to just go through each one of them. So the first one is, please select your role. And so what you see here was that there was 1,742 respondents to the survey. We did send out the survey in both English and Spanish. And so this is the consolidated counts. What you see here is that you may see that there's more than 1742, and the reason for that is because we did allow the person that was submitting the survey to select multiple roles. So they could be a parent and also a staff at the district. So you'll see that the highest percentage are parents, followed by Mission CISD employees. I'm going to move on to the next slide. The next question had to do with activities that address learning loss and the level of need that was, again, being surveyed by the community, right? So again, 4.82% indicated that it was a low need, 29.62% said it was a moderate need, and the majority, 65.56%, stated that it was a high need to address learning loss. Question 3, the question was addressing the needs of children from low-income families, children that have disabilities, English language learners, racial and ethnic minorities, homeless students, and children that are in foster care. So what was the level of need? So again, 6.89% said that it was low need, 28.82% said it was a moderate need, and 64.29% said it was a high need. Question 4, regarding summer learning and supplemental after-school programs, including planning and implementation of those programs. So 13.32% said it was a low need, 41.33% said it was a moderate need, and 45.35% said it was a high need. Question 5, regarding educational technology, including hardware, software, connectivity, assistive technology, and adaptive equipment, 8.27% indicated it was low need, 29.97% indicated it was moderate need, and again, the majority said that it was a high need, 61.77%. Regarding employee retain existing staff or hiring additional staff, percentage for low need was 7.63%, percentage for moderate need was 30.48%, and the percentage for high need was 61.88%. Question 7, reimburse the district for expenses made during the pandemic to continue providing innovative instructional programs, extracurricular activities, and a competitive staff compensation plan. For low need, it was at 12%. Moderate need was 32.72%. For high need, it was 55.28%. Question 8, mental health services and supports, such as the hiring of additional counselors. So for low need, it was 18.66%. Moderate need was 36.80%, and high need was 44.55%. Question 9, preparing district facilities and improve indoor air quality to reduce the risk of virus transmission and exposure to environmental health hazards. For low need, it was 8.44%. For moderate need, it was 23.54%. And for high need, it was 68.03%. So high need there. For question 10, planning and or implementing activities during long-term closures, including providing meals to eligible students and providing technology for online learning. The low need was 7.98%, moderate need was 33.70%, and high need was 58.32%. Next question, question 11, training and professional development on sanitizing and minimizing the spread of infectious diseases, as well as the purchase of sanitation supplies. For low need, it was 13.26%. Moderate need was 30.54%. High need was 56.20%. For question 12 on the survey, that was an open text question. And so right now it's survey closed today at 5. So we're still consolidating those responses and categorizing them. And we'll provide that response when it's appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Oh, which group did you say this was, the parents? Was
Yes,
the general consensus of the whole district or what?
No. Parents and staff. All parents and all staff received the survey.
Okay. Noticing, apparently everybody expressed there's a need for everything. So do we have specifically as to them saying which were their needs that we have, that they think are the needs? Because a lot of times we can say it's a need, not knowing the background of what we have and what we're doing or not doing.
Yes.
Because not everybody knows, let me give you an example. Let's say on the special ed, that is a group that I know that the district always has worked very hard to meet, at the highest level, the needs of the children.
Exactly.
Do we still lack some? Yes, we will always. It's only human nature that, some people are not just pleased with everything. So my point is, were they specific on the things? The counselors, we've hired a whole bunch, do people know this? So I think that a lot of times maybe a lot of our people within the district are not aware, as to what is really going on in the district and what we're really, really doing, because it is not exposed out in media and people don't know. And maybe that's why they're specifically, that's why I want to know if they were specific on the needs so that we can really target, I'm sure we are going to look at every need that they say we have, and maybe it's not there. And then I think that we need to disseminate that information so people will not say that we're not meeting our needs or that we have more needs.
Absolutely.
Than what we really have.
I think the overall consensus, based on the results and what you just presented on the survey, it's pretty straightforward that the priority from the community and teachers is to close the gap. It's pretty evident because they are talking about how technology, they're talking about summer school enhancement. So I know and this board is committed to doing that. And I think the other thing that is important is what we're already addressing. And that is, I believe we had someone from energy to try to purify or clean air.
Yeah.
I think that's a community.
And they're saying 65%.
Right.
So we're going to address it in 3 ways, okay? The focus data, the suggestions, we have all that information and we're looking at all the threads. What are the commonalities, okay? We're looking at the survey responses, okay? And then the third one is the specifics, because the last question is, what other ideas do you have? Because with the survey, they told us, we know what percentage thinks it's a low need, a moderate, and a high. Okay, the majority of the surveys are in the high between 40 and 60, okay? So we know those are needs. However, with all those 12 plus presentations, we gather data. So we're going to be looking at that information, comparing it, and looking at, okay, what are the patterns? And then that open-ended question, you want to talk about how the program puts it into categories.
so we're using SurveyMonkey, and the question is just an open text.
Yes,
The categorization of the results is actually going to have to be human.
we're going to have to
We're going to
do.
look at those and then see if there's commonalities within those responses. And then start categorizing is how many counts or for each of the types.
Yes.
And that way we can see what is the high need.
And based on everybody's experience, like you said, those parents that have children with special needs, those parents that may have children with characteristics of dyslexia, or parents that children are involved in extracurricular activities, or, they're going to be giving us feedback that we'll be able to put in categories and then compare it to, we're going to triangulate, compare it to the survey, the focus group, and then that open-ended question.
And I think the talks with the community members and the parents, just the way you gather the information.
Yes, ma'am.
Need to go back probably.
Absolutely.
disseminate the information of the outcome but it can really be out in the district.
Yes, ma'am. And that information will be put in the instructional plan. Remember that instructional plan that we have to submit to TEA and put on our district website? So there's two plans, the spending plan and then the instructional plan. And then that instructional plan and spending plan does not stay as it is. As things and needs change, every 6 months we'll need to be revising it. But you're right. The information, it's for continuous improvement and making sure that everybody knows what we have in the district. You're absolutely correct.
Who formulated the questions? Did they provide them for us, or we formulated
Yes.
questions?
Questions come directly as to how we can spend the money.
The question I asked, because I think number 4, can we go back, and there was one talking about staff. Number 5.
Number 5? Yes.
Oh, no, that's not, because it was asking to retain staff, to hire staff.
yes.
What is exactly the question? We asking to employ more, retain staff, or hire additional staff?
All of those things.
Well, that's the thing. To me, it's 3 different questions in one.
Well, and I think how the federal government put it,
Okay.
and the template is, we put so much money, we know we've got to retain our staff.
Yes.
But employ, or hire new additional staff.
That's what I'm saying. It's 3 different questions.
3 different things. But basically is we need personnel.
Sure.
That's the bottom line.
Explained all of that, Dr. Pettis, in the last meeting.
Yes.
On this question about employing, retaining existing
Yes.
staff, opening up more positions as
Yes.
possible. So I think this is the beginning. We still have a lot to work with.
Yes.
But it's a basic question that's asked of these employees, their staff, and the community or parents.
Exactly.
And then I'm sure that we're going to get more into it and get more information.
Exactly.
They can get information from us and we can request more information.
Absolutely.
So I think this is the
Survey
beginning of this.
just one of 3 components. All that feedback that we got from the focus groups is one. The survey is another one. And then the open-ended. That's where they get to put what they feel they need. So we're going to triangulate that data, and that's how the plan will evolve. However, we did not want to deviate with the language of what the feds gave us.
And that's,
That's when we do that, then we can get into other situations.
'Cause I know I saw one of the questions having to do with the mental health
Yes,
counselors, and I know I had brought up about
Oh.
social workers.
And-
And it's not in there, but I'm sure,
that's part of it.
right, exactly, like it doesn't state there.
But that's
It's part of it.
which is the wraparound services. It doesn't necessarily, have to be counselors. Now, we know that we could utilize more at-risk counselors especially at the secondary level.
Yeah.
But when he talks about wraparound services, that's where the social worker aspect comes in. And then with the feedback that they've been giving us and the open-ended questions, that's where we can look at those threads.
thank you.
Yes, no, thank you for the questions. They're very good questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Dr.
With the presentations to the board with early learning partnerships, one of the things that we've always talked about that is, my mic, I'm sorry, Ms. Gallardo. One of the things that we always talk about is that we either innovate or we evaporate. And we know that with remote instruction, it has really affected our little ones, especially our early childhood classrooms.
Yes.
It is very difficult to keep their attention span, or what some gurus call sitting power. Okay? Depending on the age of a child, if a child's 3 years old, don't expect the child to sit for 10 minutes. We gotta keep changing activities. So we know that even with ESSER funds, we can have extended day, but there's also other opportunities that the Texas Education Agency has provided for years. And in my past experience, I was able to partner with only one daycare in one school district because they were the only ones that had children that met the qualifying criteria. Most daycares usually have only a few. Now, with our school district, we're able to partner with Head Start. However, now the Texas Education Agency, and we've been researching, has other opportunities to partner with, not only with the Texas Education Agency, but other funding streams that could help us provide child extended instruction. And, you know, people may call it childcare, but for us, it's in extended instruction. And so we need to look at possibly piloting it. Why? Because we have 86% of our children that qualify for these funding streams. And we need to tap into that because many of our parents work very early hours where we could open up at 6:30 or 7, and they could come and pick up the children at 6:30. And there's funding streams. However, we've been studying it, and we would have to put out possibly an RFQ. And when it comes to early childhood, we know that we have that expertise. We've also provided a lot of professional development with our to our teachers with multi-age. You know, now the Texas Education Agency has been providing the reading academies. Next year, we will also be working with brain development. So there's a lot of opportunities for extended learning. And we want to start piloting and possibly starting with 3 and 4-year-olds and possibly in a couple of schools and pilot it where we can, the children that qualify, it will be through subsidies that come straight from the state. So we have been working on it. We have been doing a lot of research. And so today, the research that we've been working on, you know, with Dr. Roberts, myself, Ms. Garcia, and we would like to share that. And Ms. Garcia has a PowerPoint presentation.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Perez. As our superintendent mentioned, she tasked us with researching a very innovative idea of how to expand the wraparound services that our district can provide for our parents and families, and how to enhance our early learning program offerings through a collaborative partnership. And we began researching other districts up north, such as Goose Creek ISD, Fort Bend ISD, that have established partnerships. And we learned about the early learning partnership model that TEA covers. As you know, House Bill 3 has a great emphasis on the importance of early learning in childhood years. Emphasizing pre-K through pre-K 4. So the Texas Education Agency provides a process that they call P3, which is a public-private partnership. And they provide a lot of flexibility in how the district can collaborate with, whether it be a Head Start, like in our case, we currently have a collaboration with Head Start, or with a private daycare operator to set up a program such as this to be able to leverage each other's resources in this partnership. And one of the options is the district can select a partner, a capable partner, depending on the community and what is out there, and directly contract with that partner for pre-K 3, pre-K 4 without having to do solicitations. However, we want to be very innovative because we know that the need is not just in early childhood,
We wanted to be able to not be limited to just pre-K 3, pre-K 4, because the Texas Workers Commission offers subsidies such as for the Rising Star program, that eligible families can receive daycare subsidies for children up to the age of 13. So our vision is to eventually provide daycare services at every elementary where a parent can drop off a child, eligible students, from 6:30 in the morning, and then the child attends school and can be picked up at 6 o'clock at night. So it's a one-stop shop where the district is providing the instruction during the day, and we're collaborating with a partner for the early morning and afternoon, the nighttime, the evening session. So these can be very flexible in the way they're structured. It's going to depend on the unique needs of that community and the district. So we have that flexibility. So the partnerships can provide a new stream of funding for the Early Learning Center, because obviously they're collaborating with the district, so they're able to get additional clients to their program. They also have this communication and increase in sharing of the resources, and the district would benefit in that the daycare operator would be responsible for all of the licensing, the daycare specific type requirements. They would also be responsible for the enrollment, of course in collaboration with the district, but this would be an extension of what we are already doing, the registration, and also there are some unique requirements in terms of the facilities, so we would partner up, to make those changes happen.
And we already know how to do that because we're already working with Head Start. Now, we know ESSER funds are going to be going away, but if need be, because of the extended hours, we can leverage a little bit of funds from ESSER funds if we need it as well.
And it also means an extra means of reimbursement, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes. And so, right now, of course, school districts, they have the foundation school program that provides for 3 and 4-year-olds, the early education allotment and other funding sources that can be utilized for this program. And like Dr. Perez mentioned, we can leverage in the initial startup years, we can cover some of those costs with ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funding. And then what will happen is that the ADA that's collected on the eligible children, since we're using the grant funds, we could use it to hopefully provide universal, because right now we're not doing pre-K 3 universal, it's only for eligible children. So we're hoping to be able to expand to cover, and what that will do is that's going to be a recruitment tool for our district. We'll have families, number one, they won't lose families because of that, and also attract more families into the district. So that's the overall plan. And like I said, the daycare operator would work with the families to be able to obtain the subsidies to fund the daycare, and then we can collaborate in terms of staffing, where the district provides the teacher, maybe they provide the aide or a director to facilitate with the program. And again, keeping in mind that eventually we would like to grow this to be able to at least up to 5th grade, so that in the long term, the goal would be at every elementary to have services from 6:30 to 6 p.m. for all eligible children. And if this is successful, we may be able to offer reduced rates or even sustain all students, not only the ones that are eligible. So it's an ambitious plan.
Yes, it's a very ambitious plan. However, if we use some ESSER funds to build and purchase some of the things that we need, then it'll be sustainable. Because, we will need some materials, if we're going to get more 3-year-olds, furniture that's appropriate for them, and things that the infrastructure And then the program will pay for itself with the funding streams. So this is like the gift that keeps on giving. And think about it, how many parents need that type of service?
Yes.
I've heard this for years. I'm talking about registered nurses, even teachers that go in early.
Absolutely. And then
Employees
there
are
will
employees also
that
asking.
will also provide opportunities for our staff that would like to work with that entity, because they wouldn't be working for us. So that doesn't mean that we would be paying time and a half. So anybody that would like to work additional hours, then they would be they would be hired by that entity that, you know, that may submit a bid and gets the bid. Then they would have opportunities to work extended hours in the morning and in the evenings.
And Dr. Roberts will now cover in terms of the curriculum side of it and how we can prepare the teachers and the staff as well.
I'm sorry, I interrupted. The next steps, did you?
Well, Dr. Roberts was going to talk about
Okay.
it's not just the daycare.
The solicitation?
Garcia, what's the expected time frame like to begin?
Well, we want to start ASAP.
Beginning next school year?
This year,
Yes.
we want to at least, we want to field test in a couple of schools. And once we get it running, start the next couple of schools and keep it going. Because the most important thing is breaking ground.
What's the anticipated money that you're going to need for ESSER funds as far as dollar amount?
Right now, it's going to depend on the number of children. But remember, part of the ESSER funds is extended day.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not a lot. It's not going to be a lot, because once we start, you know, we need to select a school that already has early childhood classrooms, that kind of thing. So it's not going to be a huge investment. Okay.
It's going to be a major benefit.
Yes. Were you going to cover solicitation or no?
Well, okay, so the next steps is that we prepare a solicitation. We're planning on doing that in June so that we can bring a recommendation to the board, hopefully if there's a meeting late July, and get started with a partner and setting up at least two elementary campuses, and then, expand that. And Dr. Roberts was going to share some information on the curriculum side.
Okay. Now, just one more thing. The wraparound services, that's where the social workers come in as well.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Pettis. One of the things that we're looking at for something like this is also that it's not just a babysitting, parents are working, they can't just pick up their kids, that it would be more enrichment and we would create our curriculum as well. We know that we have lots of gaps to close the next few years, and so that is one thing. We have to make learning fun, and kids are always, they're going to get attention, positively or negatively, and they're going to learn good things or bad things, and we want to be the one that directs that learning. And so it'll be an extension of our curriculum as well, and things that we're learning in the classroom, we would have more control over, like what we're actually having in the program. So that's one of the things that we're really looking at.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts.
And that concludes my part of the presentation.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia.
I think that the district, our employees are going to love it. It's good for our district too, because we're not losing our kids,
Exactly.
teachers and everybody else.
And you're especially incorporating all the PK3s, not just on certain requirements that they have to meet.
So,
It's all inclusive.
yes. And we want to start with the early grades first to start the process. And then eventually, start adding more grade levels and then expanded it. But the important thing is to start with the process. Once we do that, then we can replicate it.
And the best part is that they don't have to pay.
Exactly.
That is,
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win situation for our kids.
Exactly. Now, do remember that, we have 86% of our children that are low socioeconomic. There may be there is a percent 14%. Now, when it comes to early childhood, we're not sure how many, but that we may be able to offer at a minimal cost. But once we look at the financial plan, then we can figure out for those parents that would still like to take advantage of it, we'll see, how we can make it affordable to them. But that would be the next step.
I remember when the teachers went back to work and nobody thought about our kids. What do we do with them now? And that was a big outcry for us as a school.
Well,
we had babysitting services and now we had nothing.
Well, and the thing is, we opened our schools to all essential employees, essential workers. And we opened the schools for our employees since the very beginning. So our schools were open.
It's true.
Thank you. Now, the next item, presentation regarding the 21-22 compensation plan. And I believe that each one of you received that information. We're going to put that PowerPoint.
I'm looking at this.
Now, we will be bringing back the compensation plan on the 23rd, and that's when the board will vote on it. Okay? So today, this is going to be the preliminary. While they do get the PowerPoint, I'd like to welcome those of you that are here with us. We do have some of our campus principals. Would you stand and introduce yourselves?
Eduardo Nanis, I run options and Roosevelt Filter.
Jessica Dominguez, I'm the youth principal at Alton Memorial Junior High.
Good evening, I'm Kim Torres at Lafayette Country.
Welcome.
Since we still have the closed meetings, we are rotating our campus principals until we're able to open our meetings to the public. So welcome and thank you for being here. Should I do the handout first? Okay.
Like he doesn't have it.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I gave everybody a part.
Okay, so you don't want to do your part first?
Sure.
I think you should.
Okay.
You don't need to. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So Ms. Garcia is going to start with the Mission CISD draft 21-22 compensation plan. And board, you do have a copy of that?
Yes, and I'd like to also introduce Ms. Elisa Pacheco. She's here with me today. She is our Director for Human Resources, and her and staff have been the ones that have been working with us in preparation of the compensation plan. So the first section is, these are the pay schedules, and we're going to start with school program professional salary schedule. And what you see in red are the changes that we're making, and then in blue, the red is what we're taking off, and the blue is change. And in this case, these changes are basically changes to titles because we no longer have academic coaches. ESL strategist changed to bilingual ESL pre-K-12 strategist. So those are some minor cosmetic changes. And then on the right, you have the minimum daily rate and maximum daily rate that is being recommended for the teacher salaries. However, Dr. Perez will be the one that will be covering those recommendations in her PowerPoint.
And these are all based on the test reviews.
And the next page, page number 4, if you recall in last board meeting's presentation, we did mention that, you know, we were very competitive in teacher salaries. However, in year 15, we were about a little bit over $100 below the market. So you see that column that says additional adjustment, years 12 to 16, we are proposing an additional adjustment based on TASB recommendations so that they can be over market rate. So in addition to the proposed general pay increase, which is column number 3 for teachers, and it's tiered based on years 1 to 5, 6 to 9, and 10 plus years. That's how the amounts will vary. In addition to that, years 12 to 16, we are proposing an additional adjustment to get them above market like the other years. And then the next page covers the administrative professional salary schedule. And again, in red, you see where we are removing positions because certain positions were eliminated through attrition or we had some repurposing. So that is where you see the strike-throughs. And then the blue are positions where either there were some title changes because duties were combined, or in some cases, like for example, the journalist multimedia was a new position that was approved by the board. In pay grade 4, we have the counselor for the alternative campus and options, where we took two counseling positions and recommending having one counselor attend to both DADP and options. So you see that change.
And that was based on the number of students and recommended by TASB.
And then on the proposed for the page 6 is a continuation of the administrative professional salary schedules. And again, it's the rest of the pay grades in that category, pay grade 6 to pay grade 11. Clerical technical support salary schedule. We have pay grade 1 to 10, and pay grade 2, library clerk. We changed that to just say high school because we only have one library clerk that is left, and that is at one of the high schools. TASB had recommended in their staffing study that we reduce through attrition, and then migrant recruiter is being combined with clerk NGS, so forth. And then the following page is page 8, which is the instructional support assistant. And there's really not a lot of changes. Last year, TASB did do substantial changes in that group. There was adjustments made specifically to the aides that attended to special needs students because of the need, the bit more of a challenging in their duties, so they were bumped up, as well as the nursing staff. So that's why there's hardly any changes this year. On the auxiliary staff, we do have a few changes, repurposing of positions that have been brought to the board previously, so those changes are being made on the pay scale. Now on the bus drivers salary scale, they have their own schedule. We have non-CDL bus drivers and regular bus drivers, and we are recommending increasing those rates, hourly rates, for next year. In addition to that, we are proposing that we increase the substitute pay, which is on page 11. As you recall, we were paying $15 above for in-person substitutes per hour. So we are recommending that we continue that extra $15 an hour, so that will reflect in the new scales. And then temporary assistance. So this is when we hire outside staff, like for example, for tutors and teachers. and, part-time help, so forth. The only change that we're recommending is that teen teachers or tutors, I believe that was brought up at the last board meeting. Personnel with a bachelor's degree and a valid teaching certificate, we are going $20 to $25 an hour.
And that's to be competitive with the market.
And then the next section is the supplements. And they start on page 14 with the athletics program. And we were asked to look at the head coaching stipends. And we're happy to report that we did meet with the athletic coordinators at each of the high schools, all 4 of them. In addition to Coach Ibarra, we got input from Coach Gilpin, Coach Longoria, Coach Clemens, and Coach Howell and Coach Ibarra. And they reviewed the different stipends, and the first recommendation is that the girls athletic assistant coordinator be changed from $7,500 to $10,000. And of course, all of this, we went back and we talked it over with CISD before we took the final decision. And for the head coaches, their recommendation was that all of the head coaches, with the exception of the year-round sports, yet they had recommended $9,000, but we said, we do have some that are at $9,500, so we didn't want to penalize anybody, so we then agreed on $9,500. So as you can see, so baseball, cross country, basketball, powerlifting, soccer, softball, tennis, track, and volleyball are all at $9,500. And this is moving forward. So anybody new coming into that position, those supplemental duties would be paid at that rate. And we also, as a result of that, we had to make some adjustments to the volleyball assistants, and we made them equal to the other sport assistants. They will be losing? They will not. If they're currently in the position, they will be grandfathered. They will continue to get that rate. When we have a new person coming into that role, then they would be accepting that as their stipend.
But I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
You can.
But the existing, say, other varsity varsity assistant coaches will remain at the 45?
Yes.
And not be at the 6 like volleyball assistants are?
So for example, if I'm understanding correctly, so right now, let's say we have someone that is getting the 6,000 volleyball varsity assistant coach. As long as they continue in that position, our position has been to grandfather people.
Yeah, we grandfather them.
We have not cut them back. They will continue getting the 6,000. Now, if there was a volleyball varsity assistant or another sport getting 4,500, we would not go back and give that other person 6,000. But moving forward, anybody new to that role would start at the 4,500.
So the ones that are remaining, they're going to stay the same then? It'll be less than what
No.
the assistant coach would be?
Because that's the market value. That's the market value compared to the peer groups.
And what?
Right?
But
say grandfathering them is what you're saying, Coach.
Because like, for instance, the varsity assistant basketball coach, 4,500, and they've been that for years, yet the varsity assistant volleyball coach, who remains as that in that position, is getting 6,000. And same with track coach, baseball coach, softball coach, varsity assistant coaches. They were all at 45, right? The volleyball varsity assistant was at 6.
Okay, the volleyball varsity assistant coach is at 6,000 and will remain at 6,000.
But the other varsity assistants, how are I'm just saying, how are they more important than the other?
It's not that they are more important, because based on the recommendations that we had in the prior year, that's what was established. So at that time when we hired that person, that is what was offered to them.
That was market value back then?
Yes, market value, and and the coordinators agreed upon it.
And you know, we went back this time, we had everybody go through and look at that information and got their recommendations. So on the varsity, the volleyball assistants, we decided to make them equal to the other sports. Now I understand what you're saying, Coach Iglesias is saying that, well, you know, some person left out because they got hired last year, they had 6,000. But the same process we used when we eliminated the days last year, you know, just every single coach that decided to continue coaching, like for example, you know, the reason we had to move up the athletic, girls athletic assistant coordinators to 10,000 versus 9,000, what they were recommending, was because it was like, well, coach, you know, your stipend is 7,500 here, but that's not how much they're making because they got grandfathered. They got to keep the days, and that's just one example. So we did that with every single coach that their stipend changed. If their stipend went down, we didn't penalize them. And yes, you could have like a grandfathered employee that's making higher than a new employee. Mm-hmm. But we just felt as a district, it wouldn't be fair to cut anyone because that's what they had been earning when they got hired. So we went that extra step. So that's the practice that we have been using.
And the coordinators were good with this? I mean, just for morale purposes, so to speak, that, you know,
as far as
emphasis is put in, for varsity volleyball, where volleyball is the only one. The assistant coach is getting higher than the other.
I didn't ask them that specific question, but as far as
they were okay with all of it,
as grandfathering employees, they insisted on grandfathering last year and this year. And I mean, we that is something that we posted them that we were not going to hurt and reduce them.
No, I understand that.
I mean, how many does?
Why won't we move those other up to be equal?
All
as far as the can you help me with those? Because I know on those you talked to.
So it's only impacting right now. There's actually. Oh, sorry. So basically, we have a new admission high school. We'll have one JV volleyball that it would have impacted. That person has left already. So the new person coming in would come in at 4,500. In terms of BMHS, we have only one individual that it would impact. So we wouldn't want to penalize them to go down. We also have two individuals under that just got hired last year, that grandfather terminology would not impact them. Okay. So we're looking at only 3 individuals.
So the one that Dr. Iglesias, Coach Iglesias over there is talking about it. No, how many does it impact? It's only one person, the volleyball and the basketball, that there is a difference? Is that?
No.
All other sports, with the exception of volleyball.
Sports.
It's just one sport, and that it's going to cross.
The alternative to that, what we're proposing would be to make all other sports at 6, 4,500, and 4,000. So in other words, like raise everybody else up,
which will be high above market value.
Or we bring one down.
But that would be hard because one person has been there for years.
Well, you're going on the years. The person that's getting the 6 has been there longer.
That's been
grandfathered. That's a grandfathered one.
Right.
Okay.
The other 2 will not be grandfathered because they came in last year at the very beginning of the year.
Oh.
So it's not fair for the one that has the most.
Well, and some are varsity, some are junior varsity, some are freshmen. So it's like a hierarchy too.
So excuse me, it's such a position. Go ahead.
It's a position, you're right.
It should be level.
Ms. Pacheco. Right. Those other 2 that you're saying that they were not grandfathered in, is their stipend coming, is it going to be lower than the 6,000 or it's staying at 4,500 or?
They're not at the 6,000, they're at a freshman level. So there's one that's a freshman level. Actually, we don't grandfather them in, they would lose $1,000. So the stipend, the new person that came in.
Oh, yeah, because they haven't been with us.
They haven't been
So
with
they wouldn't be losing
So the
anything.
other,
They've never had it.
Oh, they haven't had it.
they had it last year.
They wouldn't
They
lose.
had it last year, but last year that clause, we kept the clause for grandfathered in. So anyone that fell within that time frame would be grandfathered in.
What TASB does is they look at our peer groups, and they do have a hierarchy based on, and then people, that propels people to do well and keep moving up the ladder. That's how it was explained to me.
You're not going to have a lot of different, a changeover, so to speak. You know, you have a volleyball JV coach making 45, and that's what the baseball varsity assistant, basketball varsity assistant, softball, all other sports are making 45. That the JV coach is making 45. And I think all this difference of amounts causes.
And if I may,
Doesn't matter.
Coach, right, Coach Iglesias, one of the things that we did when we spoke to the coordinators and involved the female and the male coordinators and Coach Ibarra is that we did look at that because that was something that came up with them about the across the board, the consistency. So in order to be consistent across the board, we need to start off from here moving forward. But we can't penalize those that we already approved for last year at that rate. So it's only one person. And I understand what you're saying, that one person for volleyball assistant, varsity assistant, will be making more than the varsity assistant for basketball. However, it just turned out that last year that was the rate that we had, and it's not fair to them that we're going to penalize just so that we can equal the playing field. So moving forward, for example, anyone new coming in to these positions will be equal in any sport that they coach.
Oh, they will be equal?
But it's only new. It's only the new ones.
The new
The new ones, all the other ones, everyone's at different rates because there was days.
But we're not voting on this today, are we?
No,
Is there any way that we can find out how much it would be more to put everybody on an equal field except the one that's already higher?
You raise them?
To raise them?
Okay, yes, we can get
We
that
can look
for
at
you.
that.
Yes.
But just to that point, in every single sport, you have that right now because of the days.
Right.
So, for example, like, let's say,
It's a stipend plus the number of days, like, for example, if you're
10
junior high,
days.
you got 5 days.
did away with days.
They did away with days.
Yeah.
The days
They were,
the exact point that you're making about the varsity volleyball assistant applies to other sports. Because, for example, like MHS had a vacancy in basketball, okay? But let's say the basketball person at Betts was grandfathered with days. So the new one coming in, we're not, like you're saying.
So that's why it's higher, because they had
lowering
days.
this, the person that was grandfathered, but yet the new one, so are you gonna raise every other stipend? You know what, like what you're proposing, we would have to look at the highest paid for every scenario and then go back and raise all the other stipends. You following that same logic that we're talking about volleyball, because that scenario exists in every single sport, because you have grandfathered individuals that are standing next to someone that's new, earning the new rates, and there's a discrepancy. So do we look at every sport and pay them the days? I mean, that would defeat the purpose of, removing the days, and it was to align the stipends to market and also reduce expenditures. I'm just putting that out there because it follows the same logic, but we encounter that situation in every single sport, just about.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
That makes sense because the number of days for volleyball is different from other sports.
they have.
And football?
They all have the same.
Same.
So how long has this?
It's always been, I'm just going by, it would have eliminated this whole issue had it been, and I know with other districts, the head coach gets this much for each sport, the varsity assistant gets that much. It's across the board, and there's no issues.
But with our peer,
We all knew that, but I know what you mentioned about TASB, and I know it's a recommendation only. What's best for Mission CISD?
you're right, it is a recommendation, but our peer groups who we're compared to have the system.
I beg to differ.
Well, they showed it to us.
You have some districts that still are offering the days. So, you know, for it to be
But not our peer groups.
Yes, some districts.
Okay, but it combines. And
Yes, it
comes out to
averages.
the-
What they do is they average between our peer districts, and they look at the value days plus the stipend, and that's how they come out with that recommendation. Now, but in terms of it being aligned, when we had the days, and for those districts that chose to continue paying days, and some of them chose to eliminate them, the ones that continue paying days, every coach is different because their daily rate is based on their years of experience. So that's why CHASB recommended that we eliminate the days and go with a flat stipend. So some of our peers, they're not across the board because they still have the days. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to align it. However, there's no way to cut off our current staff that have been executing these duties for multiple years when we transition to a new stipend amount. I mean, we could, but it would just hurt a lot of employees if we were to say, okay, if your stipend went down from now on, you're losing X amount of money.
No, I understand that.
And if I may, let's just say that scenario with the varsity, the JV coach with the basketball.
Well, you see it freshmen.
Grandfathered in, you may have some comparable because of the days that they had. So we had to keep their 9,000, let's just say they were making or what have you. And then this one has 9,000. So just because of their days, they might have come up and been comparable. But these were the grandfathered in folks in the different sports. I know you had a question.
Yes. How long has this employee been making the 6,000 or earning this 6,000?
Just last year was their first.
They just started.
They just started last year.
Grandfathered in?
No, they were not. They were not grandfathered in. They just started last year.
That's what the system was.
Okay, I think that's where the mistake was made. That why was she or he getting paid 6,000 and the rest were getting paid 4,500? Now we're not able to clear it up, to take care of it, to make the change.
The compensation plan last year that was approved was for 6,000. So therefore, that individual coming in August or in July, whenever they came in at that rate.
But that's what the system was for several years.
That's what the
compensation years back.
And it was years ago.
And we had to have it comparable to the days on the market value that it had.
Okay.
Because it had 15 days.
Remember that there were many years that the TESB studies had not been implemented in the school district. It wasn't until 2 years ago that we started implementing stipend studies. The studies were done prior to 3 years ago, but they were not implemented. When was the last time that the stipend studies had been implemented? Maybe 2013, 2014?
We hadn't done one since.
We were told never, but.
Oh, okay.
For stipends.
Wow.
2 years ago.
Usually the athletic directors then, basically around the valley, everybody was about the same. Whether you were, the 5A level, 6A level, all their coaching positions.
And one of the other things that I would like to let y'all know is based on what we have been doing, and we are trying to bring consistency, like you said, as it's going around, but we don't want to penalize any of our veteran coaches. But one thing I will tell you is looking at the stipends that I have it back there, where we are very comparable to the majority of our peers. We're either top 2 or top 3. We're nothing less than that when it comes to our coaching. So we are trying to attract better coaches, higher level coaches that are coming in with successful programs because of that reason. So I think that's helped a whole lot.
Pacheco, I don't think we have an issue with that. I think that's great. I think, and I'm also happy with the TASB studies and all that too. I'm glad that we're using that. But I understand on what Coach is saying also. Even though that we're doing this stuff with the TASB and we're following their direction, in a sense, let's try to see what we can do to make everybody comparable, like Coach is saying, and that way we can be equal across the board, and maybe start this next year, and then leave the veterans where they're at. I mean, because they're already there, they're already grandfathered in.
Because we need to know the rationale.
Because really,
why is it that some are lower than others?
Would I quit and then come back again so I can get the new stipend? Or
If you want to.
no, I mean you wouldn't want to do it.
Volleyball.
No.
I'm just being facetious.
It just seems that we would have avoided all of this when it's across the board. If you raised it up, then all the assistants should have been the same level across. We know that football is it's a different baby there, and they have their different prices, their amounts. But all the other sports, a varsity assistant coach just does the workload more than the JV coach for that one sport only. It's just that one sport.
And that's why we're bringing it to the table now, because we do want to make sure that we are comparable like that, since that was a concern last year. Okay.
Let's just take a look at that.
And it has a lot to do with morale too. Let's just make it across, and they're all held accountable to how they're supposed to do by their head coaches, but yet.
Most definitely be working towards that. Thank you.
And can I ask a question? I have a question.
Yes.
I've been looking at this. Let's look at the soccer girls varsity. The person has 4 years and it's 305. And then you have the softball varsity, and she has, whoever it is, I don't know, 6 years, and it's the same pay.
Because it's a job. It's the job.
Based on the year.
It has nothing to do with the person.
They're the lowest, so it has.
It's the position that pays that much.
You get my
First-year coach or a 25-year coach.
I know. It's like the 20. Once you're 20, you don't get anything. You don't get a raise. You don't get anything. But in this case, and I think that there is a lot of animosity because of the difference of pay, just because they're different,
Just like Coach Iglesias is.
But I think we need to work on it.
It's the same job. So what I want to know, then, what's the rationale? If it's the same job that they're doing, then why are the recommendation is different?
We're actually, the recommendation is to make them the same. So last year, they were different. Volleyball was paid more because it was based on the market rate for volleyball. If you recall, we had the volleyball head coach was higher than the other sports, because in the TASB study, when they averaged the districts, we had some districts in the peer group that were paying more for volleyball sports.
Yeah,
so then
we
brought, we talked about this before. The board asked us to look at this again for the head coaches, and they would prefer to see a more consistent across the sports. So that is why we got together with the head coaches, and this is what we came up. However, the person that happened to be hired in that transition year, since we're now lowering the stipend, that person gets to keep the benefit of having a higher stipend. But that happened in just about every sport when we absorb the years into their stipend and grandfather them. So to treat one coach different, that would be difficult. And then the other thing is, then to compensate all the new coaches, then we wouldn't be implementing the scale. We would, basically go back to the days. Does that make sense?
Well, I don't think you have to go back.
It's very money. It's we'll go back to the.
I don't see the football coaches here.
The football is on page.
It's a total different animal.
The football's on page 14.
There it is. Yeah, and everybody can see those.
And just to add to that, the veteran coaches, those that have been with us for quite some time, their daily rate was so high that they were making way high amounts. So, if we would have taken them down, they would have lost a lot of money. We have that.
That's the veteran coaches.
To bring up all these.
No. Veterans in terms of
Yes, right. Sometimes the veteran coach, yeah. Daily rate goes into their teaching and all that. I'm talking stipend.
That we're making is to bring up everyone to equal playing field. That may be a slew amount of money.
Because
that we may
paying them a stipend plus additional days for the sport.
And we let them keep.
But that's
last year.
Yeah, but it's all different. You know what I mean? It's all a different thing. And this position pays this much extra. You know, the softball coach can come in and say, you know, here my assistant is making less than the volleyball coach. The volleyball's in the air con. My coach is outside eating dirt and sun and everything, working just as hard and even harder, yet paid more. And to me, it's up to all this comparisons. Head coach can come in and start pushing it.
And once we approve this, you'll see that it's all equal. So the softball coach will come and say, hey, the varsity assistant for volleyball, they're making more than I am. No, they're not, according to this pay scale. Now, if you're comparing to grandfather, then that's a different story. But if you're comparing it to the stipend proposal, that becomes equal playing field. Everyone will be making the same.
Okay. So there all won't be all new coaches coming in. There are always others. All right. Well, hopefully, is situated.
Most definitely, Coach.
I'm sure you get the idea. Just,
We do.
just see what we can do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then on page 17.
What?
17 fine arts, we are increasing because again, in comparison, the district are substantially lower. And, you know, we may have some other recommendations. We haven't ironed out with Mr. Garcia and Dr. Roberts in fine arts. They might be bringing in some new programs that they'd like for us to add. So on the next meeting, we'll bring those for fine arts. And then the rest of the pages just kind of clarifies that, for example, page 18, it clarifies that the supplement is to be paid in December and May. Stipends 5.8 to 5.9. So little cleanup that we're doing there in red. Page 19, again, it's a clarification that these stipends are for work that's outside of the instructional day. We're just making it clear. And as far as the rest, page 22, for equal enrollment, teacher, secondary stipend, district is not doing that anymore, so pick that off the books. JROTC instructor, we got clarification from Central Command that we needed to change how we had it worded. We needed to say JROTC instructor, senior instructor, commission or non-commission, and to add the word commission or non-commission on the second one as well. So we're fixing that as per the recommendation. And then we added the multi-aid stipend, which the board had already approved. That one was $1,000 per semester. To the book, we also the board had provided for a principal reassignment stipend. So you know, we've had on there too. We changed varies based in future. Not that we're planning on doing that, but public relations web liaison. What we're proposing to do is to set up a program where we provide a stipend of $500 per semester to one campus person at each campus that would work with Mr. Burley's department to provide web page updates and PR information so that we're getting that constant flow of information from the campuses, and there's somebody actually that you can point to. And they would be meeting with Mr. Burley and his team and supplying that information. And then for professional development trainings on page 27, kind of their teachers, but
we decided to change it to employees because sometimes we could have a librarian prepare the training and they're not necessarily a teacher, so we just cleaned up again in the wording. And page 28, again, changed the word teachers to professional employees and clarified that it's work outside of the instructional day. And then the summer program supervision administrator, that would be for, currently summer school, it could be an assistant principal or it could be a principal. We did not want to limit it to just assistant principal, so we put administrator. Clarified that. For the summer program, are increasing the rates because, as you know, this year we had a challenge employing summer employees. So for summer school, we're increasing the amounts by $5 an hour. And then we added certified nurses assistant because we didn't have that option. We have some CNAs that are interested in working summer school. And then on page 29, other extra duty pay, special support administrator, we're adding that stipend. The superintendent designates, wants to provide additional duty for their project to a specific administrator. That's their $3,000. They approved before.
An example of that would be?
Well, like for example, this year we didn't have a stipend on the books for COVID-19. That would be an example. So she could have assigned individuals to work.
They worked night and day and weekends, and we didn't provide anything. So now it's like, well, they have so many hours that, of comp time that we cannot afford them to leave. So instead, what we probably need to do is pay extra duty pay. Instead, we could have done a stipend.
So another example is
the summer school.
The summer school. If you recall, we brought an agenda item to the board not too long ago about somebody to assist with the summer school at $3,000 stipend. That's where we said, okay, well, let's just put it in the books, and then Dr. Perez would have discretion to assigning it based on whatever a new program or need is.
And those are very far and few between.
Yes.
That I would be talking to you about.
And then the board had also approved hazard pay for the nurses for the vaccines, and that's listed on their vaccine. And we feel we're going to continue this because if there's a booster shot, or if when they expand to younger children, we're going to have to continue with the vaccination clinics into next year. And then travel allowance, we just cleaned it up because we had like multiple positions listed on there. So we just changed it to say level 1 is $600 and level 2 is $800, and just put the count of individuals versus the different titles. What it is some employees are allowed to do travel reimbursements, but then you have some that like travel extensively that it's easier to just do a stipend than have them to do the monthly reimbursement. And then
I have a question. How about I don't know if it was here. I may have skipped it. Go ahead. Do you have more?
The last one, Dr. Bettis is going to cover in her PowerPoint.
Oh, okay.
She had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How about like the extra pay for like the secretaries and all that came in? They didn't qualify for that hazard pay stipend or something, and
when we call staff to come do phone calls, remember, for the meals to you, when they came and did the packets and all of that.
Right.
Okay, we did pay hazard pay. Now, the only hazard pay that we could afford was for teachers and instructional paraprofessionals that were directly in front of children. No other school district provided that. Now, we did that because hardly anyone wanted to come and work in the classrooms. but it was because they were directly all day with children. So we were able to cover that expense. No one else, because they were not all those 8 hours or whatever hours in front of children. So that's how we were able to justify it. Otherwise, we can't. Okay? So, but all employees had to come because the schools had to be run. So they were deemed essential employees. Now, at that time, the board did pass a resolution to be able to do that. When we shut the schools and then when we opened, the board passed a resolution and allowed me to do that. We just didn't do it, out of the blues. There was a resolution that was approved. And based on that resolution, that's how it was covered.
So they had to have had direct contact.
Absolutely.
Parents,
And
they didn't.
and exactly. And we had done a lot of expenses, as you are aware. So we went to the books, look at what can we afford. Okay. Now, all of the staff that were deemed essential had to come. I mean, the executive leadership team never left. Okay. I never came. Not one of them asked me for extra duty pay or hazard pay. And there were many times that some of us went and covered campuses. And, none of them asked. And I know some of you board members told me you should ask. But just felt that was our duty because we were developing the plan and the plane and flying it at the same time. There was no manual for it. So we were at the boardroom since the week before spring break, all the way to October. And then when it got really bad, Mr. Castañeda sent us back to our offices. However, I'm very blessed to have the dream team. And, but for the people, that were vaccinating, the teachers that stepped up and said, will help, those were the ones that I came to the board and I did ask for that hazard pay. Now, a lot of people got to stay home for many, many months, and I can tell you, we were probably one of the districts that stayed longer than anybody else. And for that, I can tell you that I'm very grateful because we cinched the belt and we were able to sustain and continue with salaries. We did not put anybody out on the streets without a job. We continue to pay the salaries. However, we can't compare, being in front of children, so we had to do that. That was our priority, the children.
And I will say one thing, I will attest to it because I live right catty corner to the district. And let me tell you, the whole year, other districts were not going to school. I mean, their executive teams were not in their central office, but here you go by at 11 o'clock at night and there were still people around here. And it was not the janitors because I know everybody's car. Okay, so, and we thank you for being all the time, even through the hard times of the flood that we had, the bad storms. You were always here. At 7:30, there's always somebody here. You never left. And even on holidays, because I remember everybody went on spring break and central office was still here.
Because when we let out, when others said, we'll be back in 2 weeks, we said, until further notice, because we knew what was coming. And the staff assisted. I didn't have to ask, but they assisted to prepare the packets and be ready for the children to be able to pass so that instruction could continue. So that's just a huge commitment that we're very, very grateful. And so today, I have a presentation, and it's the purple presentation. The purple cover, okay? And this is regarding the 2021-2022 proposed compensation plan. And it's front and back. With COVID-19, as you are aware, and we're talking about that, we had additional payroll costs. TASB continues to do the market comparison of teacher salaries. And Ms. Garcia talked about, 3 years ago, during my interview, I told the board, we were losing 12% of our staff. And I believed it was because of salaries. And when we looked at salaries, we had TASB do all of that. We were number 8, number 9 in terms of salaries. And as of last year, we were able to have everybody above market, except when you look at the 15-year mark, we're about $100 and some dollars below. So that's where we're going to tweak that. The analysis of one-time retention stipend due to COVID-19 pandemic, and that is something that we are going to be recommending. Recommendation regarding general pay increases. Recommendation regarding a one-time retention stipend due to COVID-19 pandemic. So we are recommending two stipends, possibly one at the beginning of the year and another one in December.
And this would be for all staff?
All staff and the same amount for all staff.
Oh, no difference.
No difference.
Even coaches?
Everybody the same amount.
Same level.
Is there?
No matter what, because everybody works very, very hard, and our staff are extremely committed.
Is there an estimated?
Sorry.
I don't get paid.
It's an exception.
Higher
You
chair.
get the rewards. You'll get the thanks.
Yeah.
Give you a high five. You'll get a high.
Yes. Recommendation regarding an increase to the district share of the health plan contribution for each employee. We are not going to ask the employees to cover it. We want to cover that. As you know, the industry is hiking the health insurance, especially with the pandemic. So we are asking the board to allow us to do that. Premium pay during COVID-19 pandemic. As of March 17, 2020 through July 31st, 2020. As you can see, in April 2020, we spent for $302,000 with 523 employees. And it totals to $755,643.27. On the next page, in-person instruction stipend. Teachers that came to teach children in person received $3,000 per semester. Paraprofessionals, $1,500 per semester. The time frame was from October 5th, 2020 through April 2nd, 2021. 574 employees participated, and it was all voluntary basis. Total expenditures was $1 million. And remember, through ESSER funds, we can recoup some of that. A child nutrition program service began on September 5th, 2020. Meal service is an ongoing and is now being distributed on Thursdays from 4 to 6:30 p.m. Year-to-date expenditures for CMP and transportation staff overtime is $113,879.79. Because we utilize transportation to help us with CMP. Now again, with transportation, because of the pandemic, we did not have all the extracurricular activities for that. So there wasn't a lot of overtime. It was only for varsity. We had 179 employees that participated. The budget for CMP summer workers will be $123,575. Substitute pay during pandemic. For virtual instruction substitute, level 1 without a degree was $70 a day. Level 2 with a bachelor's degree was $90 a day. Level 3 with bachelor's degree and unexpired teaching certificate, $110. In-person substitute, was higher, $85 a day, level 1 without a degree, level 2 with bachelor's degree, $105, and level 3 with bachelor's and certificate, $125. Transportation summer work opportunities. The program began since 2011 with 12 spots, and it has grown to 71 spots this year. In 2011, it was $9.50 per hour. Be quiet because it's a different type of job, okay? 2012, $10 per hour. 2020, $11 per hour. 71 out of the 97 transportation staff has signed up. 40 hours of work per week assisting the maintenance department. Summer driving opportunities may also be available, and that's 30 hours per week at regular bus driver pay rate. See, because the bus drivers have a different pay rate than our painters. But when people from other departments come to paint, we can't pay them the regular hourly rate because they're painting. So we've got to pay the market value for that trade. Now, on the next page, closing the teacher pay gap. In 2018-2019, okay, I was hired the end of July in 2018. And Mission CISD, look at the red. That's how low we were below market. The blue line was market value. Okay? The following 2 years, okay, look at what happened. The blue line is the market value. The red is Mission CISD. And now for 2021, we are recommending the yellow.
That's current year.
Yes, I'm sorry?
That's current year.
Yes, for this current year, that's what we had, I'm sorry. That's what we had. So that's why we're telling you we are above market value. But when it comes to the 15-year, you see how it goes down? It's still a little bit above, but it's a lot closer. So that's where we need to give it some cushion right there.
But that has always been.
Yes.
You know, the 15 to 20 has always been.
And we gotta work on that, okay? And that's what we want to do this year. So now we're looking at teacher salary plan, and this was 2021. So you can see the 15-year, how close it looks, okay? So that's where we need to work. On the next page, teachers' market salaries. This is what we have current. So if you look at the 15-year, we're below market 104. You see, and why do we use TASB? Because if we don't, then we won't have a standard to base it on. Okay? When school districts do not use an organization such as TASB, it's going to be all over the place. And you can see that prior to that, we really didn't have a set standard. So this is what's helping us continuously work to be that #1 school district that pays teachers to retain talent and attract talent. On the next page, one-time retention stipend due to COVID-19 pandemic. And this would be from ESSER funds and retention stipend. And I'm not going to go over the numbers. You're looking at the numbers. We'll go over the numbers next week, okay? So we have, that's one thing that one option that could be, okay? For retention stipend, and then the other one for all employees, the same stipend. Okay? And then it could be that one is paid in August and another one could be paid in December. Now, I like the one where you pay everybody the same amount.
Exactly.
No matter what they do.
That is perfect.
Okay?
We,
Which is the one at the bottom. The one at the bottom
Yeah.
of the squares. Okay? And then that's how much it's going to cost us. Okay?
but it's a one.
Total cost.
Right.
Now, if we were to pay differently, it would cost us almost half less. But again, this is a one-time stipend. This is not something that we're going to be paying the following year to and the following year. This is a one-time because of the pandemic. Okay, now there is some regulations that we've got to do. Of course, you know, we will be providing, one is a retention stipend. The other one would be because of the pandemic, and we may need to do some professional development, you know, some things with it. However, one will be paid in August. And my recommendation in August is because everyone has gone through a lot already. There's also a lot of expenses to get children ready to school, to get ourselves ready to school, you know, the staff. So that's why to welcome them with that token of appreciation, and then again in December. Okay? We've done the math. Okay? So we're okay. Then next page, recommendation 1, implement pay structure adjustments to align with market value, which is strong starting salaries, midpoint aligned with market value, and jobs realigned based on market value and job duties. And for the last few years, this is what we've given you. In 1920, you know, how it looks based on the years of experience. Okay? And then in 2021, what we did to be able to be above market value. Okay? And then the following on the back page, 21-22, the proposed teacher salary plan for 21-22. And that is what's going to take us up to the yellow. See that? Okay? So we are going to be way above market value. And one thing I'm going to tell you, right now, there's a huge shortage of bilingual and ESL teachers, and a huge shortage of teachers. Many have retired all over the state. And the universities are not keeping up with the demand. So it's about supply and demand, but not only that. It's about retention and recruitment. Now, recommendation 2. And there you have general pay increase for all job groups. And then teacher starting salary. And then in order to look at that yellow line, we would start with teachers 1 to 5 years of experience, then 6 to 9, and then 10 plus years to be able to keep above market. Because remember, the ones that suffer are the ones that have the 10 plus. For teacher structure, general pay increase is calculated as a percentage of market median salary. For other pay groups, general pay increase calculated as a percentage of employees' pay grade at midpoint. And that's usually administrators, non-teaching staff. Okay? So there you have the 2021 starting teacher pay was $52,470 compared to what we're proposing. Okay? On the back page, with the general pay increase, this is how much it's going to cost us. And then we do have to do some adjustments to keep positions to market value, and then the total cost of the salary increase. Recommendation 3. This is the one-time retention stipend. Okay, that we're saying for everybody, that amount paid in August, the other amount paid in December, and that's how much it's going to cost us. And everybody gets the same stipend at the beginning and in the middle of the year. Recommendation 4, provide adjustments to address market differences and maintain equity. Adjustments to at least 1% above range minimums. Pay equity adjustments for those in the teacher career path. Market adjustments for those still that are paid below 90% of market after the general pay increase is applied. We always have to make sure that we're above the 90% on market value. Recommendation 5, continue to monitor teaching area stipends to maintain market competitiveness and help with recruitment and retention efforts in hard-to-fill areas. Continue to annually review the district compensation plan and update as needed to maintain market competitiveness. Estimated costs. General pay increase as recommended by TASB, and you have the figure. The one-time retention stipend to be provided twice during the year. Everybody gets the same, and that is the total compensation cost. And we can afford that. History of the district's share of the health plan contribution. And, you know, this is what we've been contributing at the past. On the bottom, you see red, employer contributions. Okay, for 21-22, that is how much we are recommending that the district provide, that percentage that we provide. The employees do not contribute anything. We can afford that percentage contribution to the health insurance plan.
And this is going to be done for 21
only,
right?
21-22 only.
I mean, 21-22.
Everything that I'm talking. Exactly. Okay?
And then we can set it every year, but.
Yes, but we will have to reconsider everything and we come back. Yeah, but this package is only being proposed for 21-22.
Correct.
21-22.
Okay, and why? Expenditures with the pandemic and all of that. Okay.
See the increase.
Comparison of surrounding districts of employers' share. And this is in comparison.
Okay, it's if you go to the next slide.
Yes, I'm gonna look at that. Okay. So increase the district share of the health plan contribution for each employee for 10%. So we're gonna move from 4,925 to 450.18. So if you compare what others have been providing, but look very carefully at our competitors. Okay. So that's the reason why we need to move it up with that percentage. Okay. Questions?
And this is on the self-funded.
This is on our self-funded.
Are we going to go out to market just to compare
What do you mean, market?
with private insurance?
Oh, if we go private, like TRS Care, the premiums are
We know that
very high.
as a
Yes.
fact, and we've looked
As a fact. As a matter of fact, the district used to do that. And how long ago did we come back to self-funded? I wasn't here.
In a while.
2000. It was for years.
Was it 4 years?
4 or 5 years.
I want to say it was about 5 years because I wasn't here.
Yes, for 5 years or so.
Go ahead.
We used to be a fully funded, we used to have a fully funded organ transplant. With prior administration, we saw the opportunity to attain some savings that were only temporary because of the claims that we've had. And so this is the 6th or 7th year that we're self-funded.
Exactly.
And so we've been using the board various reports throughout the year and even before this year, and we're monitoring the expenses,
exactly,
medical and pharmacy expenses and claims that we've had in our plan. And unfortunately, this year we've shared with you that we've had high claims, and so that's the recommendation for the 10% increase. We do not have sufficient data for the plan right now. But what we've been doing in prior years, Mr. Gonzalez, is we do go out for our stop loss to get some leverage on the plan. We have already scheduled the consultants at Cambridge for our June 23rd special board meeting, so we will be providing an update and then on the next steps to take.
And one thing I can tell you that 3 years ago, it was in the red. So when I came in, I promised the board that every quarter we would be providing a report. And we went out to look at various strategies and looked at pharmaceuticals, I mean, all kinds of things. And we got it. And the board did put in, we went to the board and we did put in some more contributions. However, many school districts have gone with TRS care. That is very expensive on the employee. It's good for the district, however, it's extremely expensive to the employee. So we've been operating very well, and every quarter, as promised, we've been providing that to the board. Now, some of the expenditures lag behind because, of the payments and the invoices. However, we've done a lot of strategies that have yielded savings. However, this has been a difficult year. Okay. And then also, some years we may have high costs based on illnesses and so forth.
Sure.
That's why the stop loss is there.
And that's why I bring it up, just a comparison.
And I've talked to colleagues in the corporate world. Now they're going into that new one, the savings plan. What is that called? HSA?
HSA.
And oh my gosh, it's like you save your own money so that you can pay for your own, okay?
Yeah.
And that is something that would not be beneficial to our employees. Also, as you know, we have a wellness program. And when did we go for bids on our wellness program? It was early in the year. Huh?
It was, the contract was last January.
Okay, last January. And because one of the things that we were finding out that some of our employees were sick. And it wasn't until they were able to go to Mexico to go see a doctor or go to the pharmacy and so forth. And so we needed something affordable and wellness care for our employees. So that's why we were able to put those bids. So our employees are able to get an office visit, if they wish, for $10. And then also they come to the campuses, especially if they're on meds, recurring meds, such as for hypertension, diabetes. Okay, with the pandemic, they couldn't happen, but they've already started the visits again. If they go for a doctor's visit, if they get blood work, it's the same $10 copay. Okay, they can get antibiotics, whatever it is that they need. Also, we have telemedicine.
Mm-hmm.
So that has helped to, maintain that balance. So we're very pleased with that. Any other questions? Now,
I had a question.
and you're probably, yes, sir.
This is regarding the hourly employees.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, the pay raise for them on the proposed budget is 2.5%, correct?
That's what we're looking at.
How much would it be to increase pay? I know we haven't done it in forever. If we were to increase it, and I'm not saying for us to approve it or anything, but just so that we can all see it, at like $1.25. I'm just saying, how much would it impact?
What does 2.5 translate to? That more or less.
I'm assuming like $500, $575 for the year.
We'll look at it. We can certainly come.
And they get paid for the most part, is it biweekly?
Yes. Hourly employees.
So it'd be 575 divided by the number of pay periods.
Run the numbers.
We can run the numbers.
We don't have to make a decision just so that all of us can be.
Come up with some options, definitely.
To pay raise it to what? To $1.25?
No, $1 to $1.25. Just so we can, because for the most part.
Right now they're getting what? What are they getting right now?
No,
Everybody's different.
Everybody's different, so.
It
across the board or?
A general consensus.
Yeah, general for everybody.
Yeah, because it depends on the job that's being performed.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, thank you. This was a lot of work. And on behalf of the board and my colleagues, and it's very structured, I know that y'all put a lot of time and hours. Appreciate everything y'all did behind the scenes.
And if you look at the package, how much it's costing us, that's a lot. Okay, this is a once in a lifetime. I mean, okay. Even the stipend is costing us
$4 million.
a lot. Okay.
And I'm sure
and the reason, okay, now also, we're going to be collecting this, and the reason that I don't give the numbers is because it's not up for approval. But it will be out, June 23rd, and we are a July reset. So what happens? Ours is out first. So what do you think happens?
Competitors.
Competitors.
Yes. So we'll collect these because these are just drafts. Okay, and we'll bring some of your recommendations back and see what options may be appropriate. But thank you for your feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is discussion of possible action on the administrator's ranking.
8 million. 8 million. That's how much we're going to spend.
Over here.
Good evening, President Rogers, members of the board, Dr. Perez, superintendent, the schools, members of the audience. The first agenda item I have is consideration and approval to accept administration's rankings and enter into negotiations in the order of ranking for the security entrances for Alta Memorial Junior High, K White Junior High, Pearson Elementary, and Roosevelt Alternative. This agenda item was presented and discussed at the Board of Trustees workshop on Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. Administration recommends consideration and approval to accept administration's rankings and enter into negotiations in the order of ranking for the security entrances for Alta Memorial Junior High, K White Junior High, Pearson Elementary, and Roosevelt Alternative. And the contractor is Refco for $85,625. Base bid with an alternate of $6,850 for 4 sets of electric strikes.
I so move.
I second.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Coach.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor by Ms. Pedro Bazan, seconded by Ziegler. Ramirez, sorry.
It's okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 7-0 is the vote. Thank you, Chief.
Next agenda item is consideration and approval to accept administration's rankings and enter into negotiations in the order of ranking for the Mission CISD Structural Maintenance Warehouse Project. This is the roof project. This administrative review was presented at the Board of Trustees workshop last Tuesday, June 1st. However, at that time, we still did not have the rankings. Mr. Garcia just passed those out. Administration presents consideration and approval to accept administration rankings and enter into negotiations in the order of ranking for the Mission CISD Structural Maintenance Warehouse Project. And this is for NM Contracting. They had a base bid of $348,800 and an alternate bid for the building right next to it for $50,750. Administration presents consideration and approval to accept these rankings and enter into negotiations.
So move.
So move.
Have a motion on the floor by Mr. Roy Vela, seconded by Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Juan Gonzalez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Consideration and approval of recommendation and approval of the selection for information security analyst and coordinator for language arts elementary. Those two items we're recommending be discussed in executive session.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Next item is our grievance. So at this time,
Do you wanna do the
consent?
Yeah, the consent agenda, so that way we can be finished with that? And then we can hear that at the end?
I think we should.
Madam President, you can take them out of order.
okay. Any questions on what has been under the approved agenda from last week? Anyone?
Yes, I need to pull letter O. I must abstain on letter O.
You want to discuss that? You want to pull it out to discuss it?
I need to abstain from.
Abstain.
It's going to be consent. I'm just abstaining on that one.
Oh, you're just abstaining from that? Okay, that'd be a conflict.
We need a motion, or we just remove it?
No, I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept the agenda as read from number 1 through 2G.
Okay, do I have a second?
And then do you want to go ahead and exclude O so that you can take a separate vote on that? So.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, we do have to do, that's right. That's right. Excluding letter O, and take a separate vote.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second that.
Second on the floor by Mr. Gonzalez. A motion has been made by Mr. Jerry Zamora and a second by Mr. Juan Gonzalez. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
6-0.
7-6.
6-0.
She's still there.
Now we're going to do
That
letter.
one would be 7.
That's 7-0, but she's gonna do it, we're gonna do the other ones.
We're going to do it separately.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So then, go ahead.
Going into executive session.
So the next one, I'm sorry, Madam President, I didn't mean to interrupt, but so the next one would be a motion just on O.
Oh.
And then Coach Iglesias would abstain from that one. Since that one wasn't
Correct.
taken on.
Just for O, we removed it.
6-0.
No.
No.
You have to make a motion for.
I make a motion for award of jackets 305, that's it, letter O.
Just do something different.
You want to make that motion, Petra?
Yes.
We did.
Motion that we award the purchase of award jackets number 305-2201.
I second that motion.
Go ahead.
A motion on the floor.
Not all those in favor.
Sorry.
They already made the motion and seconded. So now it's all those in favor.
All those in favor of removing O?
No, we're awarding the back.
Accepting O.
Aye.
Aye.
That's where I.
Now you got
All those
6.
in favor of accepting that?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed? 7-0.
1 up 6. 6-0.
6-0.
This one is 6. The other one was 7.
Okay,
With 1 abstaining.
1 abstain.
Please abstain.
Abstain.
You make things so difficult, Coach.
I know. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Stop laughing, I can learn from it.
Unique.
But so there's,
Quote.
Mr. Zamora, there's, and Madam President, there's a couple more. So it's 3 in the consent agenda, 3 through 9C. So that's the remainder of the consent agenda. So we're just one more motion for that, and then you can handle that. That'll be good.
We move that we approve
Yes.
number 3 through 9C.
I second that.
Motion on the floor by Ms. Iris Iglesias, seconded by Ms. Betty All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. All right. Now we're ready to go into executive?
Before we do that, let's go ahead and just, we do have Board of Trustee information items, the financial reports for the month for April 2021, the general fund, debt service, the self-funded health insurance fund, tax levy adjustments for the month of April 2021, budget update was provided last week during the board workshop, all of that. We did have a public hearing also. We're going to have a public hearing on June 23rd at 6:15. We provide an update on litigation regarding property values, personnel employments, resignations, transfers, and compensation changes. Important dates to remember: tomorrow, June 9th, 2021. We'll see you at the RGB, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Women of Distinction 2021 Awards. The banquet will be at 6:30 at the Mission Event Center, and I believe Ms. Gallardo had the tickets for you. On June 23rd, 2021, we'll have the public hearing for the 21-22 budget and proposed tax rate at 6:15 p.m. Then June 23rd, we'll have the special Board of Trustees meeting at 6:30 p.m. No scheduled meetings for the month of July. Okay? Unless something comes up.
Vacation time.
Is that nice?
Okay. And
We'll have
executive session. Any?
Okay, now in executive session with private consultation with Board Attorney, Texas Government Code 551-071, deliberation regarding real property. Closed meeting, a governmental body may conduct a closed meeting to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. If deliberation in an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the position of governmental body in negotiation with a third person. Texas Government 551-072. Deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee. Texas Government Code 551.074. At this time,
Madam President, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's all right.
Before we go into closed session, so you have a script there will be 2 grievances.
Yes.
So there's a small portion of the script that is read and open.
Okay.
And then we'll close from there, and you don't have to reread the other reasons that you just gave. So there's a brief portion in open, and then we'll close from there, and then I'll go get the grievance.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that.
They're in the back.
Ms. Gallardo's changing the tape, so just be patient for a few minutes. Teachers, thank you so much for being with us today.
Principals.
Thank you for coming. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I know you were. You're all good.
I'm just shooting.
I have here Mr. First one, Mr. Cesar Olivares.
First one?
That's what I have here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be picking them up. Yes.
Thank you.
Keep them up. Top secret. We're not keeping them up. Gotta fight for the coaches. That's not.
You didn't put the pipe. Here. One for paper.
Well, you know what? I have some at home.
I'm real bad right now. I'm coughing because you know how it hurts?
Yes, it burns.
You have acid reflux?
Here. Into the meeting. We're still waiting or what, Miss?
Tapes. Change yung tape naman para lulo kami.
Or you know what?
Yeah, I think so. I would do it real quick.
Because I went to work this morning. And I'm coming.
You don't have tons or nothing with you?
I gotta be careful. I know.
Oh, that'll work.
And I will.
When you get back.
I bought mine back.
Well, hello, Iris. Have you been here? There's a mosquito going around.
I'm up for the coaches.
Oh, in my hand today.
You know, well, if we can do it, but I don't want to.
The thing is, that's what everybody tells me, but not really.
No, I wouldn't want to. But if we have to.
President things to bother you up.
Not how we can, if everybody's equal,
That means.
wants us equal.
What was that?
I
Slower.
just talked to her now. I said, even if they have to lower
I support you.
the number.
I even help you. She's open to that.
She's open. Maybe not a whole lot.
Too.
You know, to-
She just wants to. I'm not about that.
Yeah, I asked her right now. I said, what?
I know what to do. I don't want to be president. Going to be here in 2 years. No, I'm not. I'm not, Minnie.
You're gonna drop your phone.
Minnie, I defend you.
You're talking.
I'm kind of like,
That's okay.
I am, thank you. So old. I mean, so young to be. I got it all.
Here it comes.
Ms. Sana, are we ready? Okay. Would you please turn on the tape recorder? The board will now close this meeting under the authority of Texas Government Code Section 551.074 and 551.071 for the purpose of hearing an employee complaint regarding his receipt of a formal reprimand. Would you please stop the tape? We are now in closed meeting.
Ms. Ana? Okay.
Their action in closed meeting. The board has heard the complaint of Cesar Olivares. Do I hear a motion? Hearing no motion, the board takes no action. The last administrative decision stands as the final decision in this matter.
I'm sorry, that's something that's strict. So there was a case, Congress had it in effect several months ago. So that last part, it just has no effect. And then you just say it takes no action. So it doesn't have any effect yet. It's just like we talked about that it would be the next meeting that if you didn't take any action before the next meeting, then that would trigger that. But just taking no action, that's just taking no action. So my apologies that is in the script. So at this time, there's no action. And so that would be, there's no final decision to uphold or to convert.
I know the case. It's Tracy Lewis versus Famous IC. December 2020.
A complaint proceeding before the Board of Trustees is now concluded. You may turn off the recorder, Ms. Hannah. Thank you. Recorder's on. Thank you. The board will now close this meeting under the authority of Texas Governor Code Section 551.074 and 551.071 for the purpose of hearing an employee complaint regarding her termination. Please stop the tape and take tape to close meeting. Okay. It is now 12:01 p.m.
AM.
Or a.m. now.
Wednesday.
On June the 8th, 2021, the board did not take any vote or other action in closed meetings. The board has heard the complaint of Maria Peña. Do I hear a motion? Hearing no motion, the board takes no action. The complaint proceeding before the Board of Trustees is now concluded. You may turn off the tape, Ms. Emma.
We have this.
Okay, we're unmuted.
It is 12:04 a.m. We're now in executive session for private consultation with board attorney, Texas Government Code 551.071, deliberation regarding real property.
Right there.
Governmental body may conduct a deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. If deliberations in open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the position of governmental body negotiations with a third person. Deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee. Dr. Pitts.
Yes, but we're in executive session.
Yes. It is 12:25 a.m. We have made history today. Dr. Perez?
Yes, ma'am. Administration would like for the Board of Trustees to approve Mr. Oziel Ramos for the position of Information Security Analyst.
So move.
Second.
They haven't done them.
All three, let's do all three together.
Yeah,
Okay.
we all,
There's a motion by Ms. Betty Mendoza.
Oh, here we go.
Second by R.S. Iglesias. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Okay, next. Motion carries 7-0.
The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the Coordinator for Language Arts for Elementary, Ms. Shaila Silva.
So moved.
second.
There's a motion on the floor by Ms. Petra Ramirez,
Coach, va a decir que coach.
and there's a second by Mr. Juan Gonzalez. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Any other business to come before the
Make a motion to adjourn.
That's one.
Yeah.
this meeting is
Second.
over. It is 12:26. Thank you everyone for your patience.
All right.
Goodness gracious, great balls of fire.